welcome to my channel, and today I will going to explain what is linguistic and what is a linguist and what is a linguist. So stay tuned. I will going to explain after this. Before I explain about that, let me introduce myself. My name is Daniel Dharmaprana. I am from PPIB 2021. Okay, next slide. So, linguistic. Basically, linguistic is the scientific study of language, written by Boyle, 1975. Okay, next slide. The linguist. The linguist is a person, a human, like when you are studying a linguistic, you is a linguist. So, the linguist is a person who studies language or linguistic. That is the meaning. Okay, the next slide. Language. Language is a system of arbitrary vocal syllable used for human communication. It written by Wardrak 1977.3. Okay, on the next slide. So there are 6 characteristics of language. The number 1 is language is a system. The number 2 is language is arbitrary. Number 3 is language is a vocal. Number 4 is language is a symbol. Number 5, language is a human. And number 6, language is a communication. Okay, next slide. This language is a system. So, why language is a system? Because the system of a language functions through sound, which words and structure. These are integrated with one another and constitute the complex organic whole which I. In another determine, it is a language is a system of phonetic, grammar, vocabulary, which is themselves all system. So the grammar, phonetic, and vocabulary is inflected one and another. So, next slide. Language is arbitrary. Why language is arbitrary? Because the relationship between a vocal symbol informed in the sense of a linguistic and the entity, state, event, or action. The meaning is of the vocal symbol cannot be provided logically. Yes. Next slide. This language is a vocal. Why language determined? Why language is a vocal? Language is a vocal because we have been created with organs such as vocal cords, a tongue, and ears. So, in our body there is organs that can produce a vocal. Like when we breathe in with our lungs, that is inhale, and when we exhale, the wind in our lungs are moved to our cavity and then move to our mouth. Then it can produce the vocal. Okay. And then, for example, when there are 2 people talking, the vocal cord organs will contract to produce vibration. The sound's vibration will continue towards the oral cavity, where from the oral cavity it will be processed again by adjusting the position of the tongue and teeth and lips. And finally, the sound will be come out of the oral cavity. The sound emitted from the mouth will be received by the organs of hearing, that is ears. Okay, so the next slide. Next slide. So, language is a symbol. Why language is symbol? Because our language system is primarily made up of a symbol. Like when in the history in before BC, yes, there's a native that have a symbol to explain when there is some place that was dangerous, there will be placed a school. That meaning is the school is determined that place is dangerous. Yeah, like that. And a symbol is something that stand in for or represent something else. And the symbol can be communicated verbally, speaking the word like hi, hello, and see you, maybe. Okay, in writing, putting the letters H, I together. Like in another example is like when you try to write happy, it will be in the letter is HAPPYE. Or not verbally, like I am waving my hand in back and forth. It is determined say hi, and when we are moving our head in left or right like this, it means we say no. In other ways, when we want to say yes, we just to move our head up and down like this. So the next slide. Language is a human. Okay. Why language is a human is because language is a system, speech organs like lungs, our lips, our mouth, and our cavity. Yeah, that has been given by God Almighty to humans, which is used by humans to communicate with each other. So, the origin of our vocal is have been given by God to us all human that we used to communicate with each other in the past and now. So, the human language is distinct from all other known animal forms of communication in being compositional, and the human language allows speakers to express thought in sentences comprising subjects, verbs, and objects, such as I sing the song or I eat that apple and I can walk in the park, etc. And recognize past, present, and the future tense. Okay. Next slide. So the different from animal. There is several different from our language to animal language. I explained that in one. So the animal system of communication can only produce unlimited numbers of messages, like the dog. Yes, example of the dog is it only can bark. And when we talk, we can produce more numbers of message than that animal. So, and for no animal system, it's more complex relationship from sound and meaning. Okay, the next slide. Okay, language is communication. So, language is a means of communication that is used to transfer information, ideas, and feeling from one person to another. Example of information is like when I am talking to you to explain about what is linguistic, linguist, and language. That is the information, and the ideas is like when you talk to your partner of work, like when he or she doing something wrong, you can say to him or she like, hey, why you do like that? Don't do like that. This is the better way to doing it. So like that. And the feelings, the example is when you have a crush with another people, like, or you have a crush with she, or you have a crush with he, you can express your feelings with a language. Okay. So the next slide. Next slide. Why we need to learn a language? The reason is teacher used to be aware with the nature of language or native language. So when we don't learn the language is we are like not in the past. We are like the man who is in the past that doesn't know why we can talk and why we can speak in our language. And the reason number 2 is language is the archive of history by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Because the language is from the past before DC and from now. So the reason number 3 is the more language you know, the more you are human. When you are the know more language like you can speak in Indonesian and you learning a foreign language like English or Spanish or Chinese or Japanese. It's like you are more to be human. Okay, next slide. So the consonant. The consonant means consonant letter or consonant. So namely is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Okay, next slide. Vowel. Vowel is the vowel, yeah. It is like the soul of the word. The soul of the word, yes, the soul of the word. It is like when you say a word like bus, B-U-S, bus. Yes, the vowel is U. Because when we make the U disabled, it will going to be only B-S, and we cannot vocalize it, and it will be like pss, not bus, like that. And the vowel, there is a 5, is A, I, U, E, and O. Okay, the next slide. Linguistic brands. There are 5 linguistic brands. So, the number 1 is a phonology. The phonology is sound in a speech in cognitive terms. And number 2 is the study of formation and structure of sentences. And number 3 is a semantic, is the study of meanings. And the number 4 is a morphology. The morphology is the study of the formation of words. And the number 5 is lexicon, the vocabulary of a language of branch of knowledge, such as nautical or medical. Okay, next slide. So, phonology. Phonology that have a branch. The branch is namely a phonetic. The phonetic that is contain how to produce the sound, how to pronounce the sound, how sound are transferred, and how sound are heard. So, the point 1 is how to produce the sound is like when you try to speaking like I'm doing right now is the activity that I am doing to produce the sound. Like when I say hi, this is my voice. And hey, that was apple in there. And why? Like when you come here, etc. And point number 2 is how to pronounce the sound. Like there is a word like beach and beach. Beach and beach. There is a difference about 2 words. The words on the one is the beach is determined that was there is something like a sand, water that is the beach, yes, you know the beach, and then the word of beach. The beach is the word that sounds badly and the meaning is also bad. That is how to pronounce the sound. And the point number 3 is how sounds are transferred. It is like uh, when we talk, like when there is a man, yes, I'm instant here, then I'm talk like, hey bro, what's up? What are you doing here? That is the meaning is when our is transferred our vocal to the correspondent, like that. So the point number 4, how sounds are heard is like when you are speaking with each other, yes, and some of you or he or she is hearing by the ear, and that's how sounds are heard. So on the next slide, morphology. Morphology is the internal structure of sounds, study of words, and for example is free morphemes can occur alone and bound morphemes must occur with another morpheme. An example of a free morpheme is bed, and an example of a bound morpheme is ly. It is bound because although it has meaning, it cannot stand alone. It must be attached to each other morpheme to produce a word. So a morpheme cannot be separated. It must be attached to each other. When there is a word like funny, like lying. So lie is a word example of morpheme, and ly is a bound example of bound morpheme. So when it attaches together, it become a morphology like lying. And the another example like studying, yes. The study is a free morpheme and bound morpheme is ly. So it must be attached together to become a morpheme, yes, a free morpheme that will be pronounced studying, studiedly. Okay. Next slide. Syntax. Syntax is internal structure of sentences, that arrangement of words in sentences, clauses and a phrase, and the study of the formation of sentences and the relationship of their component parts. Okay, next slide. Semantic. The semantic is on the meaning of words, the study of the meaning of words and sentences, using the relation of linguistic form to non-linguistic concept and mental representation to explain how sentences are understood by native speaker. Like the example is when you speak with a foreign, with a people that have the foreign language from yours. Like when example is when I'm in Bali, yes, I'm from Indonesia and I barely cannot speak English, and I am trying to speak English with the another person that was from Australia and from another country that speak English. Okay, the example is like that, and the next slide. Essential component of language. Number 1 is sound, number 2 is grammar, number 2 is meaning. So, sound. Why the sound is in essential component of language is because the language doesn't complete when we cannot produce a sound. Like, you know, when you speak to another, like, hey bro, that was produce the sound. And the number 2 is a grammar. The grammar is a law that make us to arrange the word that was to be correctly written. And the meaning is the meaning of the word. Like in the past, I was explaining to you like the difference about beach and beach, like that. Okay, and the next slide. Okay, I think this is I can explain to you and thank you. And there is a quote from Sherlock Holmes. Fear is a wisdom in the face of danger. It is nothing to be ashamed of. Okay.